Welcome back to the podcast. This is Layla Rose, and today the topic is Pickme women are dysregulated. So we're going to be starting with, first of all, what is a Pickme? Who are these women? Pickmes are women who center men in their lives. And for the most part, it's subconscious. They're not doing that on purpose. And this is where the frustration and the anger usually comes from, is because they're acting a certain way, but their soul wants them to act a different way. So there's like a gap, okay? So a Pickme woman is a woman who had some sort of trauma at some point in her life, whether it was in her childhood. It can also be from past lives as well, because as we know, the patriarchy had to do some pretty violent acts in order to force servitude of men. It was very violent. It was physically violent. And even though most women don't remember any of it, because, most people don't remember their past lives in general, it's still in their body. It's still in their nervous system. So what is happening to a Pickme woman, a lot of people say, she's under a spell, she's possessed, because that's what it looks like from the outside of it. When you're centering yourself, you're like, why is this woman stupid? But she's not actually stupid. It can also happen to women who are really smart. So it has nothing to do with that. And it's usually women who have difficulty regulating their emotions, which is also another sign of being dysregulated. And these women are always going to choose men over other women, but they do it from a sense of safety. They have the illusion, their body thinks that by helping a man, worshiping a man, working for a man, they're going to be safe. And when a woman has a dysregulated nervous system and she's a Pickme, she needs external validation to create a sense of safety in her body. And I always say a sense of safety because it's not actually safe. She's always walking on eggshells. She's always targeting other women, especially if they are beautiful, they're smart. They always see other women as threats because they're acting from a very animalistic type of frequency of, I don't even want to say animalistic because most animals don't even think that way. They're pretty simple, but you know what I mean? It's very primal. It's very basic. It's very simple. Okay. When someone is in survival mode, they're always going to be looking for some sort of external system because their own body doesn't feel safe. And it's somatic. It's not something that's mental. A lot of people are saying, just change your mindset. That's not how the body, that's not how the nervous system works at all. Okay. That's why this whole, do some meditation, no, you have to, you have to get down, on your knees, and you have to stretch your hips and do, what else helps, these lymphatic flushes, when you jump on a trampoline, very slowly, these slow bounces, these are somatic exercises that really take people out of survival mode, and it has to be done consistently, just a little bit every single day. It can be harsh, it can be intense, but if a woman doesn't do that and she's very dysregulated and she's in survival mode, she's going to be looking for a job. She's going to be looking for a job. She's going to be looking for a man because this is going to give her the illusion of stability. And and other signs that a woman is a Pickme is that she will also physically look like one. She usually wears crosses. The sign of patriarchy, which is the Christian cross, because here's the thing, when a woman is religious, who is she worshiping? She's worshiping God or Jesus, which are both masculine. Okay, so she's actually worshiping a man. So that's the first sign. If you see a woman with a cross on her neck, just know, like, don't even argue with her, talk with her. She's in survival mode, so she cannot have that type of conversation with you. But that's just for you to understand the signs. So if someone has a cross, if she brags, Pickme women love to brag about the fact that they do not groom themselves, that they don't do their nails, they don't like makeup, they never wear makeup. And it's interesting. It's almost like they have the same programming. They will brag about this, which is so bizarre, because if you think about it, if you're a woman who likes makeup, who likes to play with, with that, and I've never seen a woman brag about this. Like, who? No women brags about loving makeup. Yeah, it can happen in a conversation, but no one brags about it. But a Pickme is always going to brag about the fact that she never does her makeup. She doesn't even know how to do it. She has this like sense of pride of being natural, of being a natural woman, because like I said, it's a patriarchal programming that comes from religion that tells women that they have to be humble, that they have to be natural, because that puts a woman in the frequency of being a servant. A servant to what? To a man, to Jesus, to God. So it puts her in that category, basically. So it makes her submissive. But for a woman, being submissive to a man is against nature. And the reason why we know this is that in order to make women submissive, it took hundreds of years of pure violence. So if it was natural, there wouldn't be any need of violence. There wouldn't be, any need of laws and coercion and manipulation. It would just be natural. Like, everybody would just do it. All right. And this is also why a lot of Pickme women carry this energy of jealousy, anger, envy, because if it was natural for them to be like that, they would see other women thrive in a different way, and it just wouldn't bother them. They wouldn't care. They would just go on with their lives. But because they cannot do that, they question everything. They question, why does this woman have this, and why does she have a soft life, and I'm over here with my comfy shoes, working all day and not seeing my kids for 12 hours a day. So this gap is creating the anger. So like I said, because it's dysregulation, it's nervous system dysregulation, there is no type of conversation that can happen for women to realize, oh yeah, I'm a Pickme, let me just, change my life. It's not going to happen like that. It usually happens through even more trauma. It usually happens when a woman tries to, build with a man, or she becomes a man's ride or die, or, she becomes a builder wife, and then she goes through hell with that man. She goes through the trenches just to be discarded at the end for a younger woman. So it usually comes from this high level of pain. And of course, women don't have to go through all of that to realize that they're a Pickme, because what happens is that going through hell is also going to bring a lot of more trauma and a lot more dysregulation. So the key here is to master your body through somatic exercises. And it's, like I said, it's so freaking simple. It's almost too simple, but it has to be done consistently. And it's not like, a lot of people think, oh, I have to do trampoline for 2 hours a day. Like, no, it's not. You can do some lymphatic movements, these Chinese, I forgot the word, these Chinese movement to move the lymph. these movements only requires you to do them for like 5 or 10 minutes a day. So it's not about force and intensity is very masculine. And the way women regulate is through oxytocin. It's through pleasure. It's through resting. It's the complete opposite of how society was built on. But it has to be done in a Saturnian way because we live in a Saturnian society. This is what brings order to society. We also have the shadow aspect of Saturn, but right now I'm talking about the positive aspect of it, where when a woman does a protocol of 30, 90 to 90 days or 6 months as well, she works with the energy of Saturn, and she can regulate herself again. Another thing a Pickme can do as well is to wear black, because here's the thing, the colors really do matter. When a woman wears white or pink, she magnetizes light energy. And when she wears black, she absorbs the frequency, which is very different. She absorbs light, And so, yeah, that's the first thing when someone is doing for example, like a 30-day Saturnian protocol, you have to wear black every single day. And it has to be in a feminine way, like a black dress. It also has to be modest. Saturn loves modest things. So no like big... I have the French word décolletage, so not anything that is sexy, just like it has to be classy, it has to be elegant, but it has to be black. And when I say modest, I'm not saying in the religious sense of it, I'm talking about in a containing type of way. I'm going to be making an episode, by the way, on containment specifically, and how women can use Saturnian energy to basically reclaim their energy. That's what happens, because we live in a society that siphons people. The way, even architecture, like the way highways are made, like everything is siphoning. But there are many different ways to actually prevent that and to block that when someone is doing a Saturnian protocol or has a Saturnian lifestyle, but in a feminine way. I'm seeing a lot of people teaching that, but in a masculine way, which, these 75 hard challenge or something like that, that's like super masculine. And here's the thing, if a woman is dysregulated and she starts doing all these masculine, habits and routines, she's going to end up suffering like a man too, because she's embodying her wounded masculine energy. So it's keeping her in that loop of siphoning once again, So wearing black, doing, somatic exercises, stretching the fascia, the hips. This is where a lot of the trauma gets stuck in there. And again, I'm telling you all of this information, but this is not a conversation you can have with a Pickme woman. A woman who's a Pickme is not going to be able to hear you. I'm just sharing the knowledge, sharing the information. If you find yourself in a position where you're realizing, hey, I exhibit these signs, or my mother was like that, that's actually a big one. If your mother is a Pickme, you subconsciously absorbed a lot of these habits that she has, and it's subconscious, so you're not doing it on purpose. And even if consciously you're like, no, I'm not a Pickme, if your mother was one, unfortunately, this is how it gets passed on. You absorb her subconscious behavior. So now the way you reclaim your energy, like I said, you have to do all these things where you're getting trauma out of your body, and you're doing it in a feminine Saturnian way where you're containing your energy. And you're going to be able to feel a shift very quickly if you start doing all of these. And naturally, you're going to be embodying your soul frequency of abundance, your feminine radiance, it's going to be there, but it's going to be protected by Saturn. The Venus is cannot be destroyed under Saturn, because Saturn creates this layer of protection. All right, so if you have any questions on anything I said today, just let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one.